Hey Jeff,
John.
big change. Easy
Yeah.
or hard?
Hard.
Very hard.
Yes.
Hi, I'm John,
And I'm Jeff.
and this is part 4 in our series on establishing your core values. Today we're looking at kind of an interesting question, which is, is this only for young couples? Is establishing core values something that's too difficult to do as you get older?
No, of course not.
So oddly, a lot of the people who watch our videos are newly married, or people who are engaged, or maybe in the first 5 or 10 years, and we get some feedback from people saying, "Man, I wish I had known this when I was younger." And that's fair. There's a lot of things in life that I wish I'd known when I was younger. But the reality is we're going to look at Jeff today, because Jeff went through this process of establishing core values a little bit later in the game. Can we say it that way?
I don't know what you're talking about. It was not that later.
How long had you
was.
guys been married before?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I was 20. We'd been married 25 years by that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was later.
Yeah, so we all know that there's certain companies out there, and I think of predominantly about Apple with our iPhones. They are very careful as to how much change they push on you at a time. And I think we've all had that moment where we go, "Oh, they've changed the cord," or "Oh, they changed the button," or "Oh, they changed the..."
Yeah.
But there's a lot of meetings and a lot of thought that goes into how much change can somebody handle incrementally and not go, "I'm gone." And I think that's one of the questions that people look at, especially after they've been married for a while or been in a relationship for a long period of time, is they have this feeling that going through change, even if it's change that we both deeply want, if we don't like where we are, and we know that staying here is going to be painful and moving is going to be hard, people still say, "I don't know that I can do it." So I thought we would take a little bit of time today and just share Jeff's experience of going through this 20-some years into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming, since you and your spouse are both in the business of helping people improve their relationships, in the therapy business, that you guys probably started at a pretty good place when it came to communicating about finances.
Well, I'm not sure I would agree with that. I think, I'm not saying that we had difficulty in the marriage at all, but I think that we didn't understand what it would look like to communicate about money. And so there were money arguments, just like anyone has.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting because the profession that I'm in really doesn't discuss money. But it's one of the largest subjects that people complain about in terms of the arguments they have in life. So it's a really strange paradox, an unfortunate paradox. Yeah.
So when we talk about, establishing our core values, and as you've thought about maybe in watching the other videos, there's moments where we kind of go, this is going to be difficult because I need to not only understand my partner, but I need to understand some things about myself that are maybe in my past, maybe some organizational thoughts that I haven't actually uncovered. And I think of this process that people go through as, in some ways, kind of a paradox. In some ways, it happens really quick. I mean, if you've been married for 20 years and you went through, significant change in a year, that's pretty fast. But in other ways, it's kind of slow, because how long did it take you guys to go through the process of kind of discovering and establishing some core values that you didn't have before?
I mean, the discovering what we had in common in terms of values, that we had overt discussions of that over the course of a few weeks, a couple hours of time total.
Mm-hmm.
But the total process where we integrated it into our lives was probably 3, 4, 5 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like once a week, we would just pick a weekend afternoon and sit down and talk for an hour or two on a particular subject related to this. And that allowed us to kind of progress and integrate all different kinds of areas together, including what we find to be our core values, our common core values.
One of the things that I like to do now that we're kind of coming into summer this time of year is I like to get back on my road bike and get into a little bit of shape during the summer. And if I try to do too much of that in the first few weeks, it's really painful in a lot of places. And I have learned that it's going to take me, as a person of my age, it's going to take me a few months to get into what I consider my cycling shape. And the longer I wait to start that process, it doesn't shorten the process.
Yeah.
That's a really unfortunate deal.
Yeah, right.
So if it's going to take me 3 months and I wait 2 months to start, I can't speed it up. It's still going to be 3 months.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is that 3 months from now, whether I start or whether I don't, that time will have gone by, and I will have either moved from a place I didn't want to be to a place that I want to be, or I will have just spent 3 months. And so I think with all of these changes, if you're in a position where you go, hey, I don't like where I am, I don't like where we are, and someone is saying, hey, that's going to take some energy and some effort and some change, then you got to kind of ask yourself, what's the time commitment? And I would say for, discovering your values, for going through the process that we prescribe, I think you are looking at something like 3, 4, 5 months of solid attempts at communication in order to build this thing together. But, look at your calendar and ask yourself the question, 5 or 6 months from now, where will we be? And do we want to be in this new, better place? Or do we want to be in the same place?
Yeah.
So walk us through, if you could, just some of the things that you and your wife did practically. What was your process?
Well, we basically try to figure out individually what was most important to us in life. And obviously that's separate from money. Just like, what's the most important thing? And we made a list, just a brainstorm list. That's all we did. And then we took that list and we read it to each other, and we swapped. So if she had something I really liked, but it wasn't included on the list, I put it on my list, and vice versa. And then the other thing that we did was we thought about the people who are most significant to us. So, teachers, parents, other family members, friends, mentors, just, even people maybe we read or saw something from them somewhere. If they had something meaningful to contribute to our lives, or the relationship was meaningful in some way, then we wrote down the characteristics of those things, of those people. And we did the same thing, kind of shared lists and stole from each other. And then we took all of that and said, what is it that we want to become? And we noticed that we had some commonalities on certain things. And so we took those commonalities, which we eventually kind of refined. So we take, like the one that's really important to us is education. And so we used, maybe we use different language for what that looks like. So we found a term that we liked together, and we kind of defined what that would mean. And we said, okay, this is one of our core values, that we're going to support education with our kids, for our professional lives, for our personal lives. Education is really important to us, so that's going to be on the list. And we just did that until we were done. Like, okay, these are our common ones. And that's what the process was. It took a while.
And one of the things that you may find is if you're not, in the first year of marriage and doing this process, you may find that there are some advantages, quite frankly, to being a little bit more mature in your age and in your station in life and going through this, because you're much more aware of what you don't want, and you're much more aware of what's key and central and important to you. So there are some things that come with age that are beneficial in this process.
Yeah, for sure.
So the thing that I want you to hear today is everybody has to go through significant change if you're not on the same page, if you don't have a lot of shared values, and if the way your resources are being used are in conflict. There is not an easy 10-minute fix to this. But the benefits on the other side are great, and the process is not, quite honestly, all that painful, and it's beneficial.
No, it's true. We really enjoyed it. I mean, it was actually good to see, oh my gosh, this is what we share. It's a meaningful task to do with your partner, I think.
So my last thought for you is to ask you and your partner this really simple question, and that is, if it's going to take us 3 or 4 months, if it sounds like a big undertaking, what would our life be like in 3 or 4 months if we made good progress? Where we're all at, what would our life look like if we don't do anything differently?
Mm-hmm.
And then make the choice on which way you want to go.
If you like our video, please hit the like button and the subscribe button, because that'll help us get content just like this to you easier.
And if you want to take a deep dive into the process that we're talking about, go to our website. It's relational-media.com. And there you can look at our 11-part process that we go through in our class, sign up and go through the whole process of getting on the same page together.
And as always, stay curious.